So there are two types of freelance web designers. There are those with a winning portfolio and those with a DM inbox emptier than a co-working space on a Sunday. And I'm here to make sure that you fall into that first category, because over the next 2 hours, we are going to be building your portfolio website completely together. One that turns heads, sparks curiosity, and shows potential clients that you're not just learning, that you are in fact 1000% legit. If you're serious about landing clients, you first need proof, not a CV, not a promise. You need a website that punches people in the face in a good way and says, I build slick websites for a living. Trailing cursors, slick modals, bold designs, all packed into a single page portfolio site that screams, yes, I know what I'm doing. If you want to stand out, get noticed, and finally land that first paying client, this is where it's going to all start. My name is Ricky, and I've helped thousands of students master WordPress and launch profitable freelance careers. That's because I was a successful freelance web designer for over a decade myself. This is the first video in a 3-part series where I'll be showing you exactly what you need to do to land your first paying client. All you got to do is watch the next few hours of video in its entirety, maybe give the video a like and my channel a subscribe in the process, and just make sure that you actually do everything that I do. And if you do all of the things that I do, then you will have landed your first client by the end of it. If that sounds good, then let's get to it. Okay, so to kick things off, let's just go through what I currently have set up on my website. So we can see that I've got a handful of plugins installed. I'll just show you what they are now so you guys can go away and get the same ones installed. Now, you don't need all of them. You don't need like the Essential Add-ons Pro. You don't need Templately. These are just going to make it easier. That is all. I use them all the time. These are, well, what you are seeing here are the plugins that I have set up and saved as a blueprint for my local WP. This is what I upload onto every fresh website that I build. So if you guys want to go away and grab these as well, as a minimum, you will want Elementor and Elementor Pro. So we're going to be working with stuff like custom codes and bits like that, which without the Pro version of Elementor, we are not going to be able to do. And seriously, if you are serious about making money building websites, you just need to purchase Elementor Pro, or as a minimum, just use my affiliate link for Hostinger and I'll give it to you a copy for 1 year for free. You need to be working with Elementor Pro. If you are serious, then it is just something that you need to sort out, you need to arrange. Anyway, once you have your Elementor Pro and other plugins all configured and set up, we then of course need to get a theme installed. I always use Hello Theme because it is just super lightweight and just a skeleton theme which will allow us to build the theme, will allow us to build a theme onto using the Elementor theme builder. So that is why I use Hello Theme and why I suggest you guys do as well. So with that done, let's just make sure at the minute we have 0 pages. We don't have any pages set up, no posts, no media, nothing like that yet. We are working completely from scratch. So that is what you guys want as well. So first thing that we want to do is let's just go away and get a header and footer configured. So to do that, we want to come along to templates and we want to come to theme builder. Now, as WordPress developers, I'm not going to show you or explain to you all the ins and outs of everything that I'm doing. I would suspect that you guys know how to build websites, or, you know, at least have some understanding of building websites. If you don't, then, you know, I would suggest, I would query whether or not going away and starting to charge people for website builds is something that you want to do at this stage. Now, by no means do you have to be a complete expert. You'll always be learning across the whole journey that you're going to experience. But, you know, you want to be able to understand the fundamentals and the basics as a minimum. So let's come along to our theme builder where we can now start setting up a header and a footer. So we'll start with a header. Now, these aren't going to be the completely polished, finished header, but just more like a placeholder for now. We're not going to be using any templates. We want to be just building this from scratch. So let's come along, let's start a new layout. We're going with Flexbox and I'm going to go with horizontal. Now we're going to keep this really simple because all I'm going to be using is a logo, or in my instance, it's just going to be a heading because the heading is just going to serve as my logo, and a very simple menu. Now the menu we can either set up using the menu widget, or we can just use a sequence of texts or headings or text editors and just link to them, because it's not actually going to be a menu as such. It's not going to be linking to different pages. It's going to be linked to different anchor points of our page, and it will link down to that. So just to show you exactly what this website is going to look at right now, so you have a better understanding. And this is all ran off of my local website. So this is what I've spent the last 2 days designing. And this is what I'm going to be building in this part 1 of this mini series. So this is going to be a website called Playground. Now this is just going to be a simple one-page website, like I said, but just built with a lot of unique things in mind. So you can see, first of all, we've got this little pointer that follows the cursor around. And the reason that I have this little cursor here with this following little dot is because it grabs attention. It kind of makes this website stand out in a way that others do not have. And again, you'll see as we hover over images, we've got this cool invert and the circle expands. As we scroll down here, we can see we've got this cool kind of effect where everything looks like it disappears. And as we come down again, it disappears. And again, this is just going to be the block where we are writing about ourselves. So what we do, and then as we come down, we have our selected works. And again, there's lots of motion, lots of fluidity. And again, as we bring our cursor over here, we can see that everything gets inverted. So again, it looks cool. And again, this is just to grab attention, because in this modern day, this day and age, nobody has attention. Everybody has attention deficiencies. So anything little like this that just makes this stand out and grabs attention is going to be a good thing. So if we carry on scrolling down, again, we can see we've got this let's chat bit. And again, lots of fluidity, lots of things that appear, disappear, lots of things that move. And you can see that it just looks nice and clean. Now, again, this is a single page website. So as we click on about, it scrolls us to the about bit. As we select work, it takes us to work, and then contact takes us to contact. Now with the portfolio itself, again, with this being a single page, what we are actually doing here is the portfolio parts of this are actually on this website, but I've just used some JavaScript code to hide it. And then as we select on these tiles here, it's going to open up. So in fact, it opens up like this. And so this is the project of this tile that we've just selected. So this one was a particular one here. Again, this is all just made up. I've used ChatGPT to just fill this all in. We can see we've got some images, we've got some text, we've got this cool little highlight here, which again, I've just done with some JavaScript. And the deliverables and the development of this actual website. Then we can close that down. So each of these tiles has that style. So that is always on this page, but we are only making this section appear by clicking on this with a little bit of JavaScript code. And again, I'll be showing you exactly how to do that. And again, this is all expandable, because eventually, as you start to grow, as you start building out more portfolios, you might want to make all of this dynamic content. You might want to expand onto multi-pages, and you can do that easily at that point by just adding in some dynamic content and linking from the menu to different pages. And that's totally fine. But for now, we don't want to spend weeks and weeks building all of that out. We just need to get something in place now as a placeholder that showcases our skills. And this is doing just that with these nice animations and transitions and blurs and fluidity and everything else that comes with this website. So this is going to be what we are building. So first things first, we want to build this header, as we can see. So let's go away and do that right now. So first things first, I'm going to select this container that we have just added in. And all I'm going to be doing is dropping in a heading up the top and a menu on the right. So the element that we are adding in is going to be a heading, just like so. And the next one is going to be a menu. So the menu is going to be just here. Drop that in just like so. So first things first, of course, we need to actually create this menu. So I'm just going to click on this and then left click on exit to WordPress, because we're going to just get that all designed now quickly. So under appearance, under menus, let's go ahead and create our first menu. Of course, you could have just created this on the page, right? If it's just a single page, then that would also be totally fine. We can just have this static on this page because it is just a single page website. But I'm thinking ahead here, this is going to make it a lot more expandable and easier to expand as your website grows. So under the menu here, let's create our first menu. So this is going to be our main header menu, like so. Let's create. And all these are going to be is custom links. So let's just link as a URL. We are going to be linking to a section called About. And then that link text is going to be About, like so. Let's add that. The next one is going to link to a, what is the next one called? Work, and then Contact. So this is going to be #work. And then that link text is going to be work. Let's add to menu. And then the last one is going to be contact. And we're using the hashtag because that's going to be the ID of the anchor point that we're going to link to from that menu, from that section. And the link text here is going to be content. Why can I not spell contact? There we go, contact. And then we can add that to menu as well. So I'm going to hit that save menu. That is now saved. If we come back here, I'm going to publish. I'm going to set this to entire site, save and close. And then I'm going to refresh this because of course it doesn't know that that menu has just been added. So with a refresh, we can now see that that menu has appeared. So that is good. Now we can come back to this container that houses both of those widgets. We can just get this configured. We've got horizontal already. Let's go ahead and just set this as space between. And we want to set this in the center, just like so. I'm going to go ahead and just give this a heading of playground. Now, if you guys have a logo, which I assume you guys will, you just want to go ahead and set that as your logo, which of course you'll do under your site settings. I'm going to leave that as logo, as playground. And now I'm just going to configure the typography here. The typography that I'm going to be using for this is going to be called plus Jakarta Sans. Going to leave it as that. Let's make this maybe an 18. I'm going to make that 16, that's fine. Just like so. Change the color of this one to black. I'm going to just set a new global default for black. Kind of set that as black like so. Hit the plus. This is going to be black global default. I always like to set a black and white as a global because it's just quick and easy to select. So now we've got the playground there. In fact, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, maybe a 20. And then moving on to our menu here. So over to our menu, we can see that it's using that main header menu that we just created. The alignments are going to be over to the end. I'm going to remove the pointers. I don't like pointers, which is going to have this highlight on hover. The breakpoint, I'm going to set that to mobile. I think tablet is going to be more than wide enough to house this little menu here. We've got the hamburger set there. That's fine. We can configure this all shortly. But for now, let's come along to style. Then under the style here, the typography, we want to set as that same one that we just selected, which is plus Jakarta Sans, like so. I'm going to set this to maybe an 18, like so. 600 is fine. Now I'm going to set that as a new global default. This is going to be our menu typography, like so. And that is now saved. So text color, let's go ahead and set that to global default of black. So that is looking like so. We just need to now fix that hover effect. So to fix the hover, we're going to change that to hover. Let's just select maybe this secondary default that it selects, just like so. I mean, in fact, if we wanted to maybe make it a yellow, I quite like, we will be building a yellow one. What do we have on this one? We don't actually have anything. This is grey, but we do have some yellow here, which we're going to be working with. So let's go ahead and just set that as a yellow. So let's go with something like that. If we hover over there, I think that looks okay, like so. I'm going to set that as a new global. So this will be yellow. Could be main, it could be primary, it could be whichever you want to call, but I'm just going to keep it simple and call it yellow, like so. So that is okay. That is looking good for now. So I think for what we're trying to do right now, this is absolutely fine. One thing that I will just configure under the site settings is the width. So let's just go ahead and publish that for now. We can come along to site settings. We can just get a few things configured here. So under the layout part, let's come down to layout. We've got the content width as 11. In fact, I'm just going to make that 1200. It's going to be quite a narrow one. That is going to be fine. Going to select save changes. One more little thing I like to do under our, let's come out of site settings first. Under our preferences, so user preferences, let's just come down and select this show quick edit options on so that we can quickly edit these with these icons here. So that's good. Let's go ahead and publish that. Do we need to add any padding here? It doesn't. Well, for now, I don't think I'm going to mess around with padding, but we will be coming back to this shortly anyway. But let's just make sure this is okay for tablet, make sure this is okay for mobile, and that is all looking good. For now, I'm happy with that. So let's come back, let's come out, exit to WordPress, and we can now start building our home page. Just going to give this a name of header, going to update, and now we have our header completed. In fact, before we do the home page, let's just quickly do the same, only this time for a footer. So we'll come back to theme builder. This time we're going to come to a footer. We could have selected the plus there, but I didn't because I'm an idiot. I'm going to select add new up here. Just going to quickly build out this footer. So again, very, very simple. No template there. Let's go ahead and select plus, flexbox, horizontal. Let's go ahead and just do what we've done before, really. I'm going to drop in a heading over here. I'm just going to give this a title of playground. You guys want to go away and drop in your logo there. I'm going to make that H6 style. Let's just make that menu typography. That's fine. I'm going to change that color to black. And then let's just drop in a little bit of text here. So what I'm going to do, this is just going to be something, is that not going in? There we go. This is going to be just something that I grabbed off of ChatGPT. So something visionary. Let's go with something like this. I like that one. Now, if you guys are not using ChatGPT, you are massively losing out because pretty much all of my code now that I write is done by ChatGPT. Now, of course, it helps if you understand what the code means. But even as someone, even if you don't, you can literally ask ChatGPT to do anything for you and it will come out with some replies. I'll go into more detail later on in this mini series. But for now, we've got some text there. That's fine. Let's just go ahead and style that. Going to set this as plus Jakarta. Like so. I'm going to make that 16. In fact, no, I'm going to make this 14 for down on the bottom. I'm going to keep that 400 weight. That's also fine. Let's go ahead and give that a line height just in case it breaks of 1.3. That is fine. The paragraph spacing, let's make that 0. And then we can just give this footer a little bit of padding. So coming over to advanced, uncheck the padding. Let's give it maybe 20 top, 20 bottom. Like so. We want to just put in that default 10 left and right that we just took away. Like so. And that is looking good. We also want to set the layout, don't we? We haven't done that yet. So let's just do space between. Like so. Now, we could, of course, make this black. But for now, I'm just going to leave that white. That's totally fine. I'm going to select publish, add condition to entire site, save and close. So now we can come out of this one and we can start working on our homepage. So let's just quickly rename this to footer and we can update that. Then we want to come to our pages and we want to add a new page. So this is going to be our homepage, like so. Let's publish it, publish. And then we just want to edit this with Elementor. So the first thing we want to start building out is going to be our hero. Now, if you remember the hero, it looked like this, got some nice big bold text here. It's got this button here with this nice little animated highlighter behind it, which again is going to need a little bit of code to get that accomplished. Again, if you want to use that, then you can. If you want to use a button, then use a button. It is completely up to you. But but I'm going to be building this exactly as it is, and of course you will tweak it and make it your own as well. Of course, I've got an image here. I love this. He looks super scary when he is inverted colors. You will of course want to use your own images as well, but what I will do is I'll link to a folder which has all of the media that you'll need to build this website that we're building today. So if you wanted to just use some of the placeholders that I've got, some of these mock-ups that I've created, which I'll also be showing you how to make, because that is very much a fundamental part of building these beautiful kinds of websites and then showcasing them within your portfolios. It's got the code snippets that we're going to be using as well, and then all of the placeholder medias if you wanted to use any of this stuff. So again, just gives you some content to work with. But we want to go away right now and start building this hero. So let's do that now. In fact, I'm going to close the menus. So first thing, let's just shut off that title. Let's come to page settings. Let's come to hide title, like so. We want to hit that plus. We're going to come to flexbox and we want to go horizontal. So inside of this hero, we want to drop in a container, and then I'm just going to duplicate that. So this side is going to be the text and this side will be that image. So let's go away and do that now. Let's come to add element. Let's drop in a heading. Let's just give this some styling. This is going to be, what was the first one? Hello, and then I plan, design and build. In fact, let's copy that so that we have it there, like so. Command and C. So first one is going to be hello, like so. Let's just quickly configure this. Let's just quickly style this now as well. So typography, this is going to be the plus Jakarta. This is going to be maybe a global default as well. Let's go with a 30, maybe a 28. 600 is fine. Let's change that line height to 1.3 M, like so. Just, well, not that that would ever break because it wouldn't break over 2 lines, so that's a bit pointless. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and just save this now as a global default. So save this as a global default. Let's make this a heading 2. We've got the heading 1, which will be slightly bigger. In fact, that might even be a heading 3. But I mean, let's go with a 3. Heading 3. And then what I'm going to do, just change that color to black. I'm going to come along, duplicate that. And then inside of here, I'm going to Command and C that text that I just copied. So again, I plan, design and build WordPress websites with that succeed. Again, you're going to want to change that, but just drop in whatever it is that you that works for you and your brand, your business, what is your vision, what is that you're trying to do for your clients that you work for. So typography, let's go ahead and increase this now. Let's go with a 7, maybe let's go with an 80. Now this is obviously going to be a huge heading. You wouldn't normally have a heading that big. Kind of leave that all as it is, which is fine. But I am going to just make this a heading 1. Heading 1, like so. And we'd have a H2 that would be somewhere in between this one and this one, because this was the H3. So that is looking good so far. Let's go ahead and fix this side over here. So we want just an image. Drop in an image. Here we want to come along and drag and drop all of the images that we have here. So with the left hand side now taken care of, we can start dropping in the image here. So the image is going to go into the right hand side. Quick heads up before we continue on. If you're enjoying this and you want to learn even more about building websites, finding clients and actually turning this into a real business, then I've got a completely free school community that you can join right now. Inside, I share everything that I've learned over the years, from how to design killer websites to how to cold outreach, pitch clients, and start making serious money as a web design freelancer. Just hit the link in the description and jump in completely for free. You'll be learning alongside other freelancers on the same path as you, and you can bounce ideas off one another and just get involved with a very pleasant community. All right, let's get back to it. Now for the images, I have included all of the images that you're going to need to build this website with. These are all placeholder media, which you can see here. And again, it's just stuff that you can use and play around with, use in future projects, just as placeholders. And of course, you'll want to change that to your own stuff as you start building your own website out. Now, you've also got some mock-ups and stuff, which you'll be able to download. I've gone away and made these myself. I will show you how to do that as well, because creating mock-ups like this is a fundamental part of web design. So we can actually showcase the websites that we've built in a relatable way. So these are all actual websites that I've built that I've just added inside of this media. So I'll be showing you exactly how to work with mockups as well. But for now, let's just go ahead and access our placeholder media. If you want to just go away and download this whole folder, it's completely up to you. I'm going to just, I already have downloaded it, and that is this folder that I've got here. I'm going to just drop that in like so. Go ahead, give that an alt text, select, and then he is in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to reduce the width of this maybe to nice and small, maybe 200 or 180. I think 200 is okay, like so. That looks good. I'm also just going to bold out this plan, design, and build part. So one thing that I didn't do before, let's come along here. I'm just going to wrap these bits inside of a span like so. Design, build, I've got the span in the wrong place, haven't I? Let's delete that. So in front of the plan and after the build, we want to close this off. So it's going to look like this. If you're not familiar with what a span is, it's basically just going to create a space that we can style separately to the rest. So inside of this span, if you guys want to follow along, we're going to add some inline styling, which is going to look like this. Style, and this is going to be font weight. We want to make this bold like so. Font weight, bold, plan, design, and build. Okay, so that is looking good. I mean, you can't really see too much of a difference there, but if we come along and make this less bold, then we can in fact see that that has been bolded out. So not too much difference there, but there is a slight difference. So I'm going to keep with that anyway. You can see we've got the inline style there with this piece of code just in line like so. So that is now looking okay. We've got the bolded bit over that side. Let's just fix the padding around this hero container. So I'm going to rename this the hero now. This is the hero container. And then we just want to style maybe this minimum height. So let's change this minimum height to viewport height of 100. So it's going to take up the full height of the viewport height. So that's fine. Let's also stretch, or in fact, let's center those let's align those in the center like so that it looks like that. And we can see that this is coming together nicely. So that is looking good so far. One more thing that we need to do is to add this let's work together button down there. So this is going to take a little bit of code to achieve, but that's fine. It's not too much, just a little bit of CSS. So let's start building this out first of all. So first thing we need to do is to drop in one container like so. And this container is going to be the wrapper for the whole element that we're trying to build out here. So within the wrapper, so within this container, we want to drop in one heading, and then we want to drop in another container below that, ensuring it is inside of the parent like so, because this is the container that is going to have that highlighted line added to. So the line that we see behind there, we're going to change that position to absolute and just move it so that it's behind the text. So let's do that now. I'm going to come to the text. Let's change this to let's work together. Let's work together like so. Going to make this a H4. Under the style here, let's change this. See if we've got a global default just to make this easier. Maybe the menu. Menu is absolutely fine. In fact, I think that's about 18 pixels. So is it 18? Yes, it is. So that is also absolutely fine. We're going to leave that as that. The text color is going to be black. So that is looking good. Now, what we need to do at this point is to give this wrapper container some a custom CSS class. So the wrapper, which is going to house both of those, let's come along to advanced. Under classes here, let's just give this a class name of highlight wrapper. That works. And then, of course, we will just we will call that when we are writing the CSS. So that's got the highlight wrapper in. We then just need to add another CSS class to the container inside, so the child container. And this is what is going to have that line added to it. So let's come along and just give this a CSS class of highlight line, just like so. So to grab the CSS that we need, if we come over to the Google Drive that you've now got hopefully opened up in a tab, we are looking for this highlight code. So this is highlight behind text. Now you can see where you need to add it in underneath the additional CSS. So we're just going to copy all of this like so. I'm going to Command and C and then come back to the page, and all we need to do now is of course come to our customizer. So I'm going to right click on exit to WordPress, open this up in a new tab, come out of this, going to come down to, where am I, appearance, and then customize. And from here we're going to additional CSS, and we just want to paste that in just like so. So we now hit publish, come back to our home page. Let's go ahead and select publish now, so that goes live. If we hit refresh, fingers crossed, that line moves up to behind that text. So we can see it is working, but it's not working exactly as planned. So the only thing that we actually have to do to get this going exactly as it should be is to just change this content width. So come to the parent container that houses both of those, and we can change this to boxed, and not quite, let's do that to the other container as well. Change that to boxed, and voila, it is now working as expected. Just going to change the direction of both of those over to horizontal as well, and we can see that it now looks like that. So it's almost there, just a couple of little things. In fact, if we remove the padding from that parent container, that's going to move that line up. As at the minute you can see that it's sitting below the text. Now you might like that, but I'm actually trying to get the line to highlight behind it. So if we come to that parent container again, let's come to advanced and let's just uncheck the padding there, and we can see that it appears behind it, and that is exactly what we was trying to achieve. So that is looking good. Just to go through some of the code here, again, we're not going into detail if you don't understand CSS about what everything does here, but we can change the position that is from the bottom by changing this. Another one you might want to change is how it transitions, if you wanted to speed things up or slow it down. And then here is how it actually transforms. So it transforms on a scale of 3, so it gets 3 times bigger. If we made that 2 times bigger and we maybe change that bottom to 3 pixels, it's now going to be 3 pixels from the bottom, and it's going to scale by 2 times. So let's just hit publish and then refresh. We can come and take a look, and we can see that it's expanding. So it transitions to a much smaller height. So you can see that it scales to a smaller height, and that is because we've just tweaked this code slightly. So make that whatever you like. I'm going to leave that free. That's probably best for what I'm trying to do, but you get the idea. We can play around with some custom code and do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So one last thing that I want to do is to just reduce the width of this one. We can see that it's spanning way too wide. So if we select this container, let's just literally drag that and make this about the width of the actual element, just like so. So that is now looking really good. I'm happy with that. You can play around with the code as much as you want if you want to change the scale and everything else, just to experiment with things. So I'm happy with the hero. I'm actually going to just make this hello a little bit smaller, something like so, and that looks good. So moving on to the next section. So let's come along now, and this is going to be, if we take a look, this is going to be this section just here. So it's going to consist of 2 columns, and then this column will have another 2 columns inside. So nice and straightforward layout. Let's select plus. Let's change this to flexbox and then horizontal. And then from in there, let's drag in another container, which we will duplicate. So this will be the first one. Inside of this, we're going to have another 2 column layout, if you remember. So let's change that and let's duplicate that one. We'll change the direction of the parent of this left-hand column to horizontal so that we've got the layout that we are looking for. So this is going to be a text editor, and then over here we are going to have a couple of different elements. So a heading and then a little icon list, something like that. So let's get that all dropped in now, and then we can start styling it. So first of all, let's drop in a heading. Then let's come to plus, and next up we're looking for the icon list. This one, we'll drag that in as well, like so. You'll notice I'm not going to drop them into this one because I'll just duplicate this container once this has all been done. We are all about working smarter and not harder here. And by doing it this way, it's going to save us a lot of time. So let's select this heading here. This one is going to be design, and then the next one will be development. So let's just do that over here. Design, like so. I'm going to change this to a H3 style. Let's maybe see what this looks like with a H3, something like that. I think looks okay. Is that about the same size? Yeah, it's not far off actually. So we're going to leave that as, in fact, let's make this a 24 like so. And then from a 24, 600, 1.3 line height, I'm going to save this as a H4. So heading 4 like so. Create. So that is fine. I'm going to change that color to black. And then the icon list, let's go ahead and just delete the two below it. We'll get this one styled as we want. So this has a little chevron. Here we are, like so. Like so. And then this first one is going to be user experience. Let's just copy that. Like so. We'll just get this styled so that it's looking. In fact, I'll just drop one more in there, and then I'm going to fast forward because you don't need me to watch me copy paste all of these in individually. You've got nothing to gain from that. So the next one is going to be this one. So let's just now configure the styling of this. So we want to change the icon. Do we want that size? Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. Maybe a 12. Let's change this to a black. If we want the text, let's change this to typography. We want to change this to plus Jakarta, like so. Let's make this a 16, 400, 500. No, let's go with a 400. I think 400 looks quite good. That probably is a 400 anyway. So in fact, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger, maybe a 18. That is fine. What did I just click on? Oh, change the text color to black. There we go. So far we are looking good. We've got 18, we've got plus Jakarta, we've got a line height we didn't configure. Let's just change this to a 1.3M like so. I'm just going to give this a new global. So this is going to be body large, 18 pixel, let's say. We'll probably have a body medium, 16 pixel as well, just so that we can quickly configure those if we ever need to. Let's change this space between like so. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to reduce the width of this just so that I can see how it breaks. So yeah, let's just actually change this vertical position so that it's up like so. That looks good. In fact, let's give that a little bit more space between. I think that is looking good. And for the most part, that is looking okay. Let's change this back to 50. Not quite, but it will do. And with that all done, oh, we can see, look, that vertical has now gone out of space again. Get that sorted to 0. So I think it's only when that spans. Oh, look, here we go. That's what it was. Change that vertical to 6. That is looking good, like so. So we've got this vertical alignment at the start, and then the adjust vertical position to just 6. So that is looking good. I'm happy with that. What we can do now is duplicate this. We can delete this little container over here because we don't need that anymore. And then now we can start configuring the width. So I don't think those were equal width. This was 50% and this one was 100, or take up to 100% of what's left. So let's do that now. We'll select this parent container. Let's come to width. Let's make this 50, like so. Let's just make sure this one inside was set the same. So this was 50. This one was 50 because I've been moving them around. So that is fine. And then in this one, it's just going to be a text editor. So let's drop in a text editor like so. Let's grab in this text here. Now, if you want to grab this text, you can get this from the dummy text. If you come back to the Google Drive here, you'll see that there is some dummy content here. If you open that one up, you can see that we've got all kinds of bits here. In fact, no, it wasn't on this one, but this is here if you wanted to grab some information just to use as dummy content. For the purpose, what I will do for the purpose of this, I'll just add this this text into the same folder, and this will just be the About Me text, and you can just copy and paste that as well, which I've now gone ahead and created. So you can find the About text just here, grab that from the Google Drive, and then you can paste this in. Now, of course, remember, you're going to want to make this your own, so you want to customize it anyway, but just for building this out, let's go and use this dummy content for now so that you've got the whole design all styled and built, and then you can tweak it as you start adding your own. Now, I really like, and this is a very modern way of building websites these days, this big bold bit of text. Now, normally a big wall of text like this would be really ugly, but when we style it like this and we make it a very large font, it all of a sudden draws your attention in to make you want to read more. So that is why I've designed it like this. Again, you guys can play around with this and make this your own, but for the purpose of this portfolio site, I've gone with a nice big bold text. So I'm going to paste this in here. Let's delete that, drop that in, and now we can get this styled. So under style, let's go ahead and use plus Jakarta again. Now, what size do we want to go for? I think maybe 28 would look good. Was that about 28? I think that is around a 28. So 28 is looking good. I'm going to leave that as 400. I think that looks better than 6. Yeah, it definitely looks better than 6. Let's go with 400. That looks good. The line height I'm going to change to 1.3. Even, in fact, 1.4 or 1.5 here. I think looks a little bit better. I think a 1.5 is looking good for that one. So that is good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to come along, change this color to not blinked color. No, I want the text color to black so that it looks just like this. Okay, so I literally just copied all of the remainder of the text over. So we've now got the rest of this added in. So you guys want to go away and do the same. I've increased the size of this text a little bit more so that I think that's around a 20, something like that now. Let's take a look. Yeah, that was a 20. And I added some left-hand padding alongside this container on the right. So we've now got 60 padding on the left there. Also made this text a little bit bigger. I think we were sitting at 30. So that now completes this section. I went away and added the about title to that parent container, and I added 150 padding to the top and 200 padding to the bottom. So you guys can go away and get that done now, and then we can get on to moving on to the next section. So the next section is this tile section. So we can see we've got some animation here, some motion effects, some parallax that's going on. But in terms of layout, it's actually very simple. So it's just going to be a single container at the top and then a 2-column container that is going to house both of these in. Now, the great thing about this is it's easy to just duplicate and drop in an additional 2 portfolios of websites that you have built. So this is going to be incredibly scalable. So you can easily add new websites, new projects as you complete them. And then once you've maybe got 10 or 12 different portfolio websites on here, or maybe 8 or however many you feel is right, what you can then do is move over to a multi-page site. So you might have work here, which will be on its own web page. And then you might start thinking about using some dynamic content and injecting the different parts of each project onto the page using templates. Bit like what I show you in my dynamic websites course, my advanced WordPress and Elementor course, where you learn basically all of that stuff anyway. So this is what I'm showing you right now is just a very quick and easy way to get a very professional looking website out there into the world as quickly as possible. So let's start designing the layout of this section. So let's come back to our page builder. We want to select new layout, flexbox, and this time we're going vertical. So then we want to just drop in a container. Within that container, we want to drop in a heading. This is going to be our selected works. Selected works, like so. In fact, I don't want to capitalize the W, just like so. Going to change that to a H3. And then under the style, let's go ahead and I think we can now create a heading 2, I think will be good. So let's come along. In fact, let's change that to a H3 and just make that slightly bigger. So I'm going to go with something like a 34. I think looks good. 600 is good. 1.3 line height is good. I'm going to select new global font. And I'm going to change this to H or heading 2, like so. Let's go ahead, change that text color to black, and that is the first one taken care of. I'm going to duplicate this container. I'm going to delete the text that we had in it, and I'm just going to drop in an additional 2 containers. So 1, and then I'll duplicate, and then I'm going to just change the direction to horizontal. So these are where the tiles are going to go. So again, looking at what we've got there, it's just going to be an image and it's going to be a heading. So we need to be mindful that we want to add some parallax there. So we might want to add in an additional container. So let's select container. Let's drop in 1 more container inside of that. Because inside of that container, what I'm thinking is of adding in the image, and then we'll add the parallax to this one. So this is going to have the container and the text, and then the parallax will be applied to that parent one, just like so. So bear with me, we'll get that built out. Let's go to plus, let's drop in an image like so. Let's come to the plus, let's drop in a heading. Heading is going in just like so. So we can see now this is 3 containers deep. So this image here, we are going to be using some mockups for this. So the mockups that I am using, I'm going to be showing you how to do in just a minute. But for now, let's just get this section built. You can see here we've got some placeholders. It's not actually in placeholders, is it? Silly me. It's actually inside of this just here. So we've got these images just here. So I'm looking for these lifestyle ones, just like this and this and this. So I'm going to drop that into the website. If I come out of my placeholders, I've got that. Here they are. Got 2 there, like so. Going to select one of these. I'm going to insert that one. And then that is looking good. Yeah, I like that. Let's come along to this heading now. Let's fix this heading. So again, all of the content here, if you wanted some content to work with, is inside of this dummy content. So this is going to be the first one. So I'm actually just going to select this project title, Command and C. And I'm going to just paste that into this heading just here, like so. Going to make that H4. Going to come to style. Let's go ahead and change this to a H3, or do we want a H4? I think a H4 is okay. What did we do over on here? Maybe somewhere in between. In fact, I think it probably is a H. Let's have a look. H3. I think that's okay. So now with that done, I'm just going to come along to this parent. I'm going to, not parent, but the parent of the container that has the image and the text in. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to delete. In fact, I'm not duplicating, am I? What I want to do is just delete that. What I want to do is delete this, and I want to duplicate this one, like so. So now we have these 2 images next to each other, 3 deep inside of containers. So that is exactly what we're looking for. What I want to do is just add in some additional column space in here. So let's come along to the parent. And then what I'm going to do is just increase this column gap down here. I'm going to make this maybe something like 40, I think 40, maybe even 45. That's okay. Let's just change and style this typography because I didn't change the color, did I? It always helps. Change this. In fact, this is all going to black, isn't it? So what I will do is just make this white. We don't have a global white yet, so I'm going to select one like so. Let's change this to a global white. Quick and easy access to white, like so. I'm going to just right click, copy, and then right click on the other side and paste. So what I will do here, I'm also going to just change the, if I can select it, change the color of this, change this to white, and then the parent container, let's go ahead and name this now as well. This is going to be our works or portfolio, whatever you want to name it. What we want to do now is give this a background color of black, like so. Whilst we're here, let's just give this some padding top and bottom. I'm going to uncheck that. Let's go with 200 at the top. In fact, that's probably a little bit too much. Go 150. And then let's go with 200 at the bottom, like so. In fact, I'm going to go 180 at the top. So that is looking good. We've got our selected works there. So now all we have to do here is, once we have got the motion effects applied and stuff, we can just duplicate this because it's going to drop down into a new one. So if ever you need to just add in some additional portfolios, just come here and duplicate, and then you can literally start adding in the modal, which we'll be building shortly anyway. I'm going to delete that for now because we want to finish styling this. What I'm thinking is, I think that it might look a little bit better if those were a little bit smaller. So let's just add in a bit more gap down the side there again. I'm going to come back to this container, increase that column gap to maybe something like 90. I think that is okay. So now we can start looking at the padding inside. So what I'm going to do, the motion effects inside. So what I want to do is come back to this parent container, this one just here. Inside of this, let's add some padding. So we want to go top here of, let's go with maybe 80. In fact, let's go with 120. And then 100 and, I'm going to change that to 150 actually. 150, like so. So now all I've gone away and done is I've just updated the images here. So we've got 4 different images and I just updated the text. Of course, you've got all of this information. You've got the pictures and stuff all within the Google Drive. So if you wanted to grab some of the different working project titles, grab them from there. And if you wanted to grab the images, you'll get them from here. So just go ahead, do them yourself now. Of course, these are just placeholder images and text. You are, of course, going to be adding your own as you start building out your own portfolio. So coming back to this now, how do we actually get these mockups created? And it's actually really, really easy. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do. And we get to do this completely for free. We don't have to pay for Photoshop or anything, which is what I always used to do. Instead, I now use a piece of software called Photopea. So if you come to photopea.com, you can see you can drop all of these type of file types in here and you can start playing around with them. So it's completely free to use. You just have to put up with a few ads over on the right hand side, which, you know, is a small price to pay for what it actually gives us. So next up, we want to grab some mockups. So if we go to another website called Minimal Mockups, these are completely free to use. You can download any of these mockups, not having to pay a single penny. So all of these mockups we can start using right away, and inside of the screens and everything else, we can just start dropping our own images. So just to show you how this works, let's say we want to build out, let's say we want to work with this one. So we can download this iPad Pro 2. I think it's an iPad Pro. So we download this iPad Pro. So that's downloaded. If we come to our Photopea now, we can come here and open this up, unzip it, open it up, and you'll see inside you've got a Photoshop document. Let's drop that in. And we can see, most importantly, over on the layers section on the right hand side is this option to edit this screen. So if we actually double click this, it's going to open up the image that we see inside of the screen there. So this is the smart object that we need to drop an image into. So all you have to do then at this point is go over to a website that you've built. Let's say, I don't know, my website. Say I wanted to grab a picture of this. I'm going to use a Google Chrome extension called Go Full Page. That's going to capture that whole website. And again, you can make the size of the screen smaller just by reducing the size like so. Let's just go ahead and download this image. We can close this off. Say that we wanted to get this on a mobile screen size. Come here and we can then come down, do exactly the same thing again. So where has it gone? Go full page, like so, and it's now going to grab this in mobile screen size. Let's download the image. Going to open this back up again. So again, I'm just using this website as an example here, but now we've got these 2 images, which I've got hopefully in my downloads. Yep, so we've got the mobile and the desktop. So we now come into Photopea. If I now just open up under File, Open, go with this one that we have just here, I'm going to press Command and A to select all of that, and then Command and C. So for anyone using a Windows, I think that's Control and A to select all, and then Control and C to copy. And with that copied, we're going to come over to this smart object and then Command and V. And that's going to drop that in. We're going to select the selector tool up here. We can see that it's a little bit bigger than what we need, which is okay. We can make this work. Let's move that like that. And we can see that like that is looking okay. I'm going to select the tick, zoom back in, and we can see that that is looking okay. In fact, let's bring that up like so, just like it. Here, select that tick. So that smart object is now done. All we need to do is save it. So let's save this as a smart object under the file. And now if we come back to our mockup, we can see that our website has been placed inside of it. We can go away and do that with any of those mockups that we download from this minimal mockups. These are completely free to use. There's over 7 pages of different ones to use. So go there, have a look, and start playing around with these things. I really love this old retro one. You can start dropping any kind of logo or website or anything onto these mockups. And again, this is a great resource for designers out there because it gets to showcase our work in what appears to be on a real world object. So whether that is a logo or a website or something, packaging, we get to use these mockups to deliver that, and it just looks really professional. And that is exactly what I have done here. You can see these are all different websites that I've just grabbed the screenshots from. So that is basically how we do it. Once you have that, all we need to do is export this. So I'm going to export this as a JPEG. You can export it as a PNG if you want. It's completely up to you. Going to select maybe a width of, let's go with 1500. Select save. Did you know that we can purchase this? Blah, 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 blah. No, thank you. So with that saved, we can now come down and we've got that mockup saved like so. So we can now start using this across our portfolios, and that is exactly how we use mockups. So really important stuff, and a very important workflow for any sort of designers out there. So these are invaluable for us to showcase what we've built in the past. So now we know how to do that. You now know how to build your own mockups to use on your portfolio website. So just like what we have done here. So this is now starting to take shape. One more thing that we have left to do, and that is to create the contact page. And then we'll be moving on to the modals. We'll be getting all of the additional code added in for these to open up the different windows full screen, which we can then delete, which we can then close and view that whole project in its own window. And this is all off of one page, and that's what makes this really cool, because you don't have to reload a second page or anything like that. That is going to be built onto this page, but we're going to be hiding the visibility using some JavaScript code. So with that done, let's go on and start building out the last bit, which is this contact section. So let's come back to the page builder. Let's now drop in a new layout, new container, and this time we want to go horizontal. Let's just drop in the layout here, which is one container followed by a second container. If we see there, it's just going to be a 2-column layout. So the first one, we have a heading, and then we have some more headings and some more texts and whatnot. So let's drop that in. We're going to have, in fact, I'm not even going to drop in a new one because I'll just be duplicating this one. So let's just style this one as it is. So this is going to be the contact. What did I call it? Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat. Like so. Let's now style this. I'm going to go left. I'm going to change that typography to maybe H1. In fact, this might even be bigger than H1. Like, how big is this one over here? Okay, it is big. So again, we can make this however big that we want. I'm going to go with maybe something like 90. That's okay. I'm going to maybe make this a 1.2. That's okay. And then I'm going to just change that color to black. What I'm then going to do is just duplicate, because the next one that we've got is get me on WhatsApp anytime, any place, anywhere, and then the phone number. So let's just drop and duplicate all of those in. So drop me a WhatsApp, or did I say get me on WhatsApp? Anyway, you get the idea. Get me on WhatsApp. Let's go ahead, change that to a H6. Let's now sort out this styling. Let's make this maybe a H4, like so. Get me on WhatsApp, that's fine. Let's duplicate. Oh, let's duplicate. Let's now, what did I say here? Anytime, any place. I'm just going to copy that. Going to paste that in like so, and then let's just get this style. This is going to be a thinner body weight, maybe a 300, like so. That is good. And then the next one is going to be the text editor with the actual phone number. So this is going to be a made up number Like so. Let's just get this styled. Under typography, let's make this body large 18. That will do. That is fine. I like that. In fact, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Like 22. That is okay. So that is all looking good. What I'm going to do now is just come up to this anytime, anywhere, any place. I'm just going to add some negative margin tops and bottoms just to reduce the space. So we got it like that. And maybe something like that. So that is fine. All I'm going to do now is duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Duplicate that one, duplicate that one. Oh, no, that wasn't a duplicate. That was a move. Duplicate that one and duplicate that one. Because now I'm just going to drop these down in order. That one there, and that one there. Get me on WhatsApp, that's fine. Next one is, or drop me an email, up to you. Or drop me an email. Or drop, oh, come on, Ricky, get your spelling right. Up to you. And then this is going to be your email address. grow@rickywallace.co.uk, something like that. So again, style that, play around with it as much as you want. I'm just going to add a little bit of margin at the top there, something like so. That looks good. And then over on the right hand side, all we can see that we've got are 3 vertical containers. So let's just drop those in. Come along to the plus, let's drop in fact, not containers, are they? There were 3 images. So we drop 1 image. In fact, let's just configure or style 1 as we want. So I'm just going to use some dummy content here. Dummy content under placeholder media. So let's go with that one. Let's go with that one. Let's go with that one. Again, these are just placeholders, right? So it doesn't really make too much difference. Go with that. We can see we've got one just like so. So now let's just fix up the widths here. I'm going to select a pixel width. Go with something maybe like 240. I think looks okay. That's fine. Let's just soften up the borders a little bit there. So let's come along to the border radius. Let's maybe make that a 20. I think looks okay. So that is good. What we want to do now is duplicate. In fact, let's come to that parent contain. In fact, did I drop that in this? Oh, I did. We don't want to duplicate the container, so I'm going to go back there. I want to duplicate the image. Let's duplicate the image, and then let's duplicate the image. Like so. So now we can see there was a little bit of overlap. So I'm just going to do that by selecting the middle image, and I'm just going to maybe add some negative margin to the top there. Like so. And a little bit of negative margin to the bottom. Like so. Let's go ahead and just select 3 different images. I'm going to maybe select this one for this one. And then the bottom one, let's select that 3rd and final image, like so. That's looking good. And of course, then all we need to do is add some animations to that. So add some motion effects. So again, we're doing all of the motion effects at the end. So let's just come along to this container. Let's call this contact, like so. Let's give this some padding. Going to go with maybe 200 at the top. In fact, maybe 150 will be enough. And then 150 at the bottom, like so. And again, the reason that I don't have a contact form here, because, you know, some people will probably be wondering why I don't just use a contact form, is because contact form can sometimes add resistance. It sometimes adds friction. It is much, much easier if you know most of your people are going to be using WhatsApp or, you know, there's a means of contacting you that is easier. You know, just shout about that. You know, let's make it as easy as possible for our potential clients to get in touch with us. You know, I'd even drop in like a little QR code there with your WhatsApp number, so someone can just come along, point their camera, scan it, and then get chatting to you straight away on WhatsApp. Also with an email, you know, anyone can just copy paste an email and then start typing out an email rather than having to submit contact forms and all of that, which sounds a lot more formal. So again, don't worry about that stuff. Let's just get some clients contacting us first of all. And then, you know, further down the line when we start making some amendments to this website, maybe multi-page, then we can start looking at you know, adding in contact forms and stuff like that. But for now, the idea is to make it as easy as possible for clients to get in contact with us. So this is now starting to take shape. So it's all looking good. We've got the page layout completed. I'm going to go ahead and select publish. Let's just take a look, see how this looks. That's not our website. Let's come along to preview changes. So we can see that looks good. We can see that that looks good. We can see that our work looks good. Our chat looks good. So it is all starting to take shape. So really, really good so far. What we now need to do is start playing around with that modal. So we need a full screen modal that when we click on any of this container, so the reason that we had this container, if you remember, we built this one in for an effect, is because if anyone clicks on this container, so the text or the image, it's going to open up a full screen modal. So we're going to be doing that one right now. So we need to start building out what this modal is going to look like. So let's first of all close all of this stuff down. We've got the contact there. One more thing that we need to add in at the bottom. This is now going to be our modal. So we're going to select let's go with horizontal. And basically what we are building here is going to be hidden until somebody clicks on that tile. So like I said, that's the beauty of this. It's going to just be seamless. It's going to open up instantly because it is already within the DOM. If you know anything about JavaScript, you understand what the window and the DOM is. It's already there on the page, but it's just hidden out of sight. So let's go ahead and build this out. So let's just take a look, see how this looks. We come here and select this first one. We can see it opens up like so. So what we need to do is a 2-column layout. This is going to have some bits on the left. This is going to have some bits on the right. I'm going to get the layout built and then I will just get all of the content copied over from this dummy content just so that we've got some content there to work with. So let's get this built now. I'm going to come over here. We're going to drag in, first of all, one container like so. Let's duplicate. So we've now got our 2-column layout. Let's drop in a heading. Let's come along to style. Let's change this typography to H3. In fact, let's go over H2. Like so. We can see that a H2 may be even bigger than a H2, but that's fine. Let's just change the color of that now to black. Okay, so next up it was an image and then another heading and then some images. So this is going to be configured with a grid or just a couple of different containers. So let's just get that configured and styled. Let's drop in a image next. And then after that, it's going to be another heading. So I'm just going to duplicate that one like so. If it wants to work, that's it. We'll drop that below. Let's maybe make this one a H4 like so. That's fine. I'm in fact going to make this heading a little bit, not move it. I want to make this one a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this maybe a 40 like so. Then there was another container, if you remember, because that is going to have a layout inside of 4 images. Now again, this can be however you want it laid out, depending on how many portfolios you have. Inside, let's duplicate that one. But basically what we are trying to achieve, let's delete that because I didn't mean to do that, is going to be this 1, 2, 3, 4 like so, because inside is going to be 4 different images. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the idea. In fact, I'm just going to duplicate that. That's easier. And delete the other one. Like so. Also just going to delete some of that padding around that. So I'm going to delete that default padding. And then within each container, I'm also going to delete that default padding. So delete that. And then this one, I'm going to delete that. So that it looks like that. So again, just like before, I'm going to come up to that parent. I'm going to duplicate that so that we don't have to do that again. For this one below, we can just delete it. So now we've got this layout like that. So now we could just start dropping in some images. I'm just going to, again, use any ones. It doesn't make a difference. It is literally just placeholder. Go with that. Let's go with that. And let's go with that. Why not? Like so. So this image is actually going to be one that I styled and built as a mock-up. Where is it? Did I save it here? Yes, I did. No, where is it? Okay, so I've got it saved under here anyway. It's going to be underneath the dummy content. And it is these ones here. So I'm going to download these free. Download. That's going to mess around, taking some time to zip. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've got it saved. Placeholder media, no. Here we go, this is it. So yeah, those ones I'm going to drop in, 1, 1, and 1. Like so. And again, I just knocked these up using Canva. You can do this with a free version of Canva. Are they the right ones? Yeah, they are the right ones. That one wasn't, but these ones were. Let's go with that. Select. We've now got that image in. Let's not do that. Let's just make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to go to a pixel width, maybe 290, move that to the left. So whilst we're here, let's just get all of this content in, shall we? So this is going to be, I'm going to just copy paste this. I'm going to paste that into here, like so. I'm going to come back, grab that short summary, which is what I am then going to use in this one just here, like so. So that is already starting to take shape. That is already starting to look like this one. Now you can see I've got that line there again. Again, if you wanted to do that, we can literally just copy and paste that element that we've got in the hero. Now I'm not going to bother with that now. You can just copy the container and paste that in there and just play around with that a little bit. You get the idea. We just need to now complete this right hand side. So that's going to have a heading, and then it's going to have a text editor, and then it's going to have these two little bits over here. So that's good. Let's do that now. I'm going to go to the plus. We want to drop in a head. In fact, I'm not going to drop a heading in. I'm going to just duplicate. In fact, I'm just going to just delete that. I'm going to duplicate that so that we've at least got some of that stuff again, if it wanted to duplicate, like so. So now I've already got that heading. I'm just going to delete that because we don't need that. I'm going to leave that because do we want that heading? Yes, we do. I'm going to delete that one. Why is these not working? Right, that's better. Let's put this was the challenge, like so. Going to delete these bits because we don't need that. Delete, delete, and then delete that one as well. Let's drop in a text editor, like so. Text editor is going to have the big old bit of text in, which is this one. Command and A, Command and C. I'm going to paste that in like so. And then we're going to just style this. So this is going to be configured. Maybe what do we want to do? Make it body large, but in fact we want to make that even bigger. Something like that. We can see we've got it even bigger still. We also want to increase that line height to maybe 1.5, maybe 1.6. 1.5 looks good, I think. That's okay. 24. I'm going to go with 24. It's fine. Let's change that text color to black. So that's starting to take shape. We can change this heading, make this a little bit bigger. 28. And then below that, it was that 2-column layout that we need. So we're just going to build that with a container, drop in a additional container like so, and then duplicate. In fact, what I might just do is come up to what we've already built up here and just copy this container in its entirety. So copy that parent container, which has both of those in. I'm going to come down here, just delete that, delete that, delete that. And then under here, I'm going to right click and then, no, not going to let me there, but it is going to let me there. Paste that in like so. So now we just need to style this. I'm going to change this back to 100. And like that, we've got this whole new section completed. Now, of course, I'm not going to mess around with the text there. If you guys want some additional dummy text, you've got this stuff you can use here. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to do that. You guys can do that if you want, but ultimately this is going to be your text, your testimonial, your project, your portfolio anyway. So you would want to put on there whatever it is that you had to do for this company. So that is this taken care of. So we've got now our modal 1. I've just gone ahead and changed this to modal 1. What we do actually need to do is to add in a little X icon for us to close this modal, because we're going to add a little bit of JavaScript to that X, and we're going to make sure that when that is clicked, it's going to close this modal. So to do that, annoyingly, we actually need to add in a new container. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to add in a completely new section, going to select plus, and I'm going to go with vertical this time. Inside of there, I'm going to drop in a container, because in this container, we are going to drop in an icon. So let's come to icons. We want to drop in an icon here. Let's go ahead and select maybe close icon. Go with something like that. We could go with that one, whichever one you fancy. Let's go with this. I'm going to just style this. I'm going to make this black. I'm also going to make this a little bit smaller, maybe something like a 32. That looks good. I'm going to go over there on the right hand side, just like so. So now I'm just going to duplicate that container. I'm going to delete the icon, and inside of this container, I'm going to change that direction to horizontal. Now I'm going to drag this one up into that. Bear with me. I told you it was going to be annoying. So then we've got this second one here, and we're going to drag this container up next to that one, like so. See if that goes in the right spot. Of course it doesn't go in the right spot. Basically what we need to do is to get this container, where's the new modal, that's the modal. Let's just rename that modal 1. I'm going to name that 11. So this other modal is now empty, so I'm going to delete that. For this modal now, we've got this container, which has everything that we need in, which we need next to this container. But that's fine. Let's move that up into there, like so. Hopefully that does the job. Okay, so it's just on the wrong way around now, so that's okay. We'll just swap that around like so. Voila, so now we have our icon up on the top right there, followed by the two column layouts that we have here. Now I know that was a little bit frustrating. I totally get if you are swearing at the screen right now because it's not going where you want it to. But if it helps, then just rename those containers to what you need so that you know where you need to drop them in. So we've got our modal 1. Let's just rename that modal 1. Let's rename modal 1 like so. And what we need to do now is just add a little bit of padding to the top and bottom of that modal. So come along to advanced, uncheck the link values together. Let's go ahead and add maybe, what do we want? I think maybe a 50. And then on the bottom, let's go with a 60. Like so. So that is looking good. In fact, I'm going to make that 70. So that is now our modal taken care of. Now, what you are probably wondering is, you know, this is still on the page, how you're going to hide it and everything else. And don't worry, we're going to be doing that with some code very shortly. But what you would also need to do is to create a new modal to go with each new tile. So at the minute, I'm not going to do that. All you actually have to do is come along and duplicate for each new project that you have. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. One would be your modal 2, like so. The other one would be your modal 3, like so. And that is going to correspond with the different works that you've got. So of course you've got your project 1, project 2, project 3 will correspond to modal 1, modal 2, and modal 3. Now I'm not going to make any more modals, but what I will be doing is showing you how to implement the code to actually get this to do that functionality that we are after. So to do that, we have got a few things that we need to type in. So the first one is, if we come along to our Google Drive, you will see that there is some code highlights here. So we want the full screen modal. So let's first of all open that one up. I'm going to close these tabs. And we then need to start copying and pasting these codes, so these little snippets, onto our website. Now you'll notice that there is the first one here, which is CSS. This is just going underneath our appearance and customizing additional CSS. And we have some JavaScript, which I've written here, which we're just going to insert under custom code, new code, and this is all under your Elementor settings. So again, a quick note on code. You do not have to learn how to code But it will go a long way if you understand a little bit of CSS, HTML and JavaScript, because when you start to build out things that are really complicated, not complicated, but some of the stuff that goes beyond the functionality of Elementor, that's where you're going to really be able to add value to different projects. And that is what people are going to be looking for. So businesses that are looking for something a bit special. Now, at this stage, do not worry yourselves about that. You do not have to know what all of this stuff means. If you do, then fantastic. You've got a massive head start. But like I have said, I no longer write all of my code from scratch. I used to have to sit down and spend hours writing code. Now I don't have to. Now I literally just prompt ChatGPT. I have a coding assistant here, which is just my own GPT. And I literally will just say to him, I'll open up a chat prompt and say to him exactly what I want, and 9 times out of 10 it spits out a bit of code that is almost spot on. Now if you have access to 4.5, you will notice a big improvement in the code that it produces. If you're on a free version, you might only have access to 4, which is also good, but it's not quite as accurate as the 4.5. That said, it just needs a few more prompts. You just need to work with it a little bit, explain any problems or something that isn't happening as you wanted it to ChatGPT, and it will eventually get it, even with the ChatGPT 4.0. So that is how I produce code these days. This code wasn't written by me. I said it was by me because I made myself sound smarter than I was. This was all produced by ChatGPT, but I mean, I understand it. I can read it. And hopefully in the next few years or so, you will be able to as well, because like I said, it goes a long way to being able to add value. So how do we actually add this in? Let's go about doing that now. So the first thing, I'm going to add in this JavaScript code. So this is wrapped in script tags. So let's just go ahead and triple click that. That's going to highlight it all. I'm going to Command and C, and then I'm going to come back to the website, and I'm going to come under Elementor here, under custom code, and I'm going to create a new code here called full page modal. And then I'm going to come back to the website, and then we want to come along to, let's go open up a new tab here. I'm going to open one in a new tab. And then what we want to do, we want to come to Elementor, and we're going to go to custom code. So under custom code, we want to add a new code. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's give this a name of, I don't know, let's say full page modal, something like that. The location is going to be at the end of the body, like so. And then we just paste that in, just like so. With that done, let's go ahead and select publish, and we want to apply this to the entire site. So publish and then save and close. So that is the JavaScript added. This is going to select certain classes, so .project tile, .close project, some attributes, data project, some bits that we are now going to have to go on to the modal with and start referencing. So these .project tiles are classes. We need to add these classes to certain elements, certain widgets on our page, because that is what is going to be creating those changes, creating that functionality. So that is basically what that code is doing. All we need to do is input the those CSS classes and attributes as that code has been written. So to do that, we have our modal and we have these tiles. What we first need to do is to let the code know, or in fact not let the code know, but we have got on the code, we can see the .project tile. So that is a CSS class. So basically all we need to do is add that class to these tiles. So these are all of the tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm just going to set up one for now. You guys can go away and add the second, the third, the fourth, and the second and third and fourth modal, which is exactly what you'll need to do. But just for what I'm trying to do here is just to show you exactly what or how to do that. So I'm going to select this container here. Now remember, this was the extra container that we added in, not this container. It was the extra one that is going to be completely clickable. So what we want to do there is we want to come to the Advanced tab, and then under Classes, let's go ahead and give this a class name of Project Tile, like so. So that is fine. I'm going to copy that in and copy that with a Command and C. You would then want to go and add that to every other tile as well. One like so. That one was already there. That must have been one that I done earlier. One over here, paste that in, and one over here, paste that in. That is what you need to do. What we then also need to do is to create an attribute. Now the attributes for these are going to basically let the code know which modal to open up on what tile we actually click. So to do that, what we actually have to do is to come back to that same container. We're going to come to the advanced, and then where we have the classes, down at the bottom, there is also the option for attributes. We're going to select the attributes. And then under here, we need to add in what is called a key value pair. So the key is going to be data projects, like so, or data project, should I say, and then a vertical line, and then this is going to be the value, and the value is going to be project-1. So we have the data project, and now we have project 1, and you can actually see that reference in here. So we can see the get attribute of data project. So all we have basically done there is given this an attribute of data project and a value of project 1. So with that done, what we actually have to go away and do now is to come to our modal, and we need to let the that code that has been written know that this is project 1. So to do that, we're going to come over to the container of the modal. We're going to come under the advanced tab, and we're going to give this a CSS ID. Now this is going to be project-1. So that is exactly what we want. We can see also under the code, let's take a look. We have here project overlay. That is another one that we need to use as a CSS class. So I've just copied that. I'm going to type that and paste that into the CSS class of this modal. So now, every single modal that you create, so if you was to go away now and create an additional one, you would duplicate that one. We're going to name this one too, just so that we know where we are with that. We're going to come down to that second one. We're going to completely redo it as you wish. We're going to select the parent container of number 2, going to come here, and we're going to give this a CSS ID of project-2. With project-2 selected, we can come back up to this, and we can then add in that attribute for this one. If you're following, under attributes, data project, and then project-2. If we could spell project correctly, always helps. And then this one would be data project 3, this one data project 4, and then the IDs of modal 3 and modal 4 would be project 3 and project 4. So you get the idea. So now the whole thing knows when I click on this tile, it's going to open up modal 1. When we click on this modal, it's going to open up modal 2, so on and so forth. But it's going to open it up in its own modal. So a modal which will not be visible in just a second, because we are going to add the last bit of CSS, the last bit of code that is going to now hide these modals. So I'm going to just delete that extra modal that I created because I'm only going to do one. You guys want to go away and do as many as you have websites for. And with that done, let's come back to our code snippets. So above this one, we have our CSS. This is the full modal overlay. So I'm going to triple click that and Command and C to copy it. And then I'm going to come back to our website, and then under customize. So this is just the global CSS under appearance and customization. What we want to do is just drop down. I'm going to add in some extra space just to separate the two. And again, you don't have to understand what I'm doing. This is basically just for writing notes that is not going to be processed by the computer. I'm going to drop down, and then I'm going to paste that in. So this is now the code for the modal full screen overlay, and we have the code up here for the highlight behind text. So that's what we have so far. And now when we hit publish, and we come back to our home page, we hit publish again. I'm going to hit the refresh, And we should not see that modal anymore. I mean, we can click on it, but it is not going to take us anywhere because it is no longer visible. That is still editable, so we can still edit it. We can still change any styles and anything else. Not that we should have to now, but basically it is no longer on this screen. But the functionality that has just been built into that with what we've just done should now be in place. So if we come along to the front end of our website now, where are we? Let's do the preview. So let's come down here, down, down, down. Now, if we click on this first tile, it opens up into its very own kind of pop-up, but it is instantaneous. It literally is click and close, click and close, click and close. So there is no loading, nothing like that. And so this would be your modal for the first one. And this is going to be telling all of your visitors about this project that you've built. Your second one is going to open up a different modal. So modal 2 for project 2, modal 3 for project 3, modal 4 for project 4. That was a tongue twister. You get the idea. You can get really creative with this, and we can build this really nice, fancy single page website with a little bit of additional code that is going to just showcase our skills. So, you know, they can now see, anyone that visits the website, that we actually can write a little bit of code, that we know how to bring these pop-ups in and out. We know how to get everything to load really fast. We know how to add these little quirky effects that's going to really stand out. So again, that is how we're going to stand out in a busy place. So that is the modal taken care of. Now what we need to take care of finally is, well, two things. We want to add some animation to these. So everything we want to maybe move around a little bit as we're scrolling. And we also, of course, need to get this all fixed for mobile responsiveness. So we want this to look good on all screen sizes. So first things first, let's just go away and apply some motion effects to this. Now, the thing with motion effects, I love motion effects, but at the same time, it does slow a website down. So if you are really passionate about getting your website to rank on the search engines high up, then maybe not go down this route of adding different styles, adding different motion effects, because motion effects will slow down your page loading times. The idea being, we only have a one-page website. If we don't have many plugins installed, so it's running, the whole website is running quite clean with very little bloat, then a few motion effects shouldn't be the end of the world. So we're going to get some set up right now. And now what I'm thinking, if you remember when we looked at the other website, is that the text kind of faded or blurred as it came into the screen from the bottom and out from the top. So let's just go away and do that now. So we're going to do this line by line. So let's start with hello, or element by element, should I say. Under advanced, I'm going to come down to motion effects, scrolling effects, then blur, and then from blur we're looking for fade in and out. So we can see now that this hello is fading out as it goes, but we want that to fade out probably about here. So we need to adjust that by just tweaking this to fade about there. So we can see that from there it's good, there it's fading, and then it's gone. So that is exactly what we want. Now we just need to do the same from the, well, I say the bottom, it never gets to the bottom, does it? So that's going to be fine for now. Let's go away and do this one with this bit as well. So let's come to advanced. Let's come down to motion effects. Let's go to scrolling. Let's go to blur, fade in, out. So let's scroll up, 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 up. And we can see that starts to fade there, which is probably about right, to be fair, like so. And then it's gone. So it's in no blur and then blurred. And then from the bottom, it doesn't go to the bottom again. That's fine. Let's do the same with this image over here. We'll come to advanced. Now what I'll do the first couple of sections and then I'll just leave you guys to do this. You don't need me to do this again and again and again because you get the idea. So let's just make this fade in and out. So that's looking good. Maybe a little bit later, like so. And then he's gone like those, like so. So now let's do the same with this bit of text here. So let's select this one. Let's come to advanced. Come down to motion effects, scrolling effects. We're going to go for blur, fade in and out. So it fades out around there. That's probably a little bit too early. Let's drag that to about 90. and 90, I think, is the sweet spot. Let's come down. So now when we scroll in, it's blurred, 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 blurred. See, that's probably blurred a little bit too late for me. So I'm going to reduce that down to maybe something like 8 or 10. So we can see it's blurred there and then it comes in, maybe even lower. Now, for some reason, doesn't matter when you're changing these element to element, you'd think that these would be the same all the time. They're not. What I'm doing here, you have to do pretty much every single time to see how it looks. So that is looking good so far. Let's do the same to this development. Going to come down to motion effects. Let's set scroll in. Let's come down to blur. Going to go fade in out. We can see that's too high. Let's set that down to about 10. That's good. And then fade out. That's too much. I think we're looking at around 90. So it seems 10 and 90 seems to be the sweet spot. Do the same with the design. Under the motion effects, we're going to, if I can select the right one, select scroll in. Let's go to blur. Let's go to fade in, fade out. Let's set this again to 10 and to 90. Looking good. And then we want to do the same for this element and for this element. So go away and do that as well. I'm not going to do that because you can see how I am doing it. What I do want to do is just get this configured over here. So we want to start adding a few different effects to this one. So we want some parallax, which is going to be moving vertically up and down at different speeds to one another. So that's going to look pretty cool. First of all, let's just go away, select that same blur motion effect to this title here. Scrolling effects, where are we? Why did we move? Let's select that as blur. And for fade in, fade out, let's set that to 10, set that to 90. That's looking good. Is that looking good at the bottom? Looking good. Okay, so now moving on to these. Let's go with the image. So the image first, let's come to advanced. We want to apply that same motion effect with the blur, only this time we're going to add in some vertical scroll as well. So we're going to select that blur. It's going to be fade in out. So let's just see how that looks at the top. Doesn't seem to be fading out at all, which is strange. Have I selected the right one? Yep, image down there, motion effects. Maybe I haven't. That'll be why. So we're going to go to blur, going to go fade in out. So let's take a look at the top. That starts to fade there, probably a bit too much. 10 and 90, I think, again, going to be the sweet spot. We can see that that is fading there. So that is good. And then what we want to do is I want to add a vertical scroll. So a vertical scroll is going to move that up as I scroll down. So that's good, that's what I want, but actually that isn't where I want to apply it. So I'm going to remove that vertical scroll because I want to apply the whole scroll to this container. So if you remember, this was the container that we created specifically for this effect because it houses the heading and the image. So that is the one that we want to apply that effect to. So let's come to motion effect, scrolling effects on, vertical scroll. We're going to go up here. Let's say we want to go a bit faster at 5. So that moves like that. So that is looking good. Oh, selected the one below now, but that's okay. So that's going like that. And then what we're going to do is just alternate that on the other side. So I'm going to select the container with the heading and the image under advanced, under motion effects, scrolling effects. Let's go with that vertical scroll. We're going to go with down this time, and we're going to slow it down a little bit, so that it looks like that. That's looking good. So that's fine. Let's now apply that to the top here. So this one, going to come to advanced. We're going to come to motion, scrolling effects, vertical scroll. So this one we want to go down. So that meets the other one as we scroll, like so. Let's maybe slow that down a little bit. 2.9 is good. And then that is fine. And last one over here, advanced, motion effects, scrolling effects, vertical scroll. This one is going up this time. And yeah, let's keep that one a bit faster so that we look a bit like that. And we can see all of this movement. It just looks cool. In fact, I'm going to slow that down a little bit more. Just looks nice. Now, of course, we've got the blur on this. We don't have blur on that. We don't have blur on this. And we do have blur on that. So again, your job to go away and add that same blur that we have to the other elements. And that would be looking really cool. So now onto this bit, we had some horizontal scrolls on this. If you remember on the finished website. So I'm going to select this image, advanced. I'm going to select motion effects, scrolling effects, and horizontal scroll this time. This time we're going to go left on scroll. So as we move around like that, that looks like that. Going to slow that down a little bit, maybe to like 2.8. That's good. And then this middle one, middle image, come to advanced, scrolling effects or motion effects, scrolling effects, horizontal. This time I'm going to go to the right and I'm going to speed that up a little bit so that it moves like that. Looks good. Maybe go a little bit faster still. Looking good. So now at the minute we can see that that is not staying in the container. So we can actually keep that to stay in the container. So this container here, at the minute that is scrolling past that, as you can see. Now we can prevent that by hiding the overflow. So if we come to this parent container of the images, under layout, down at the bottom, additional options, overflow, let's change that to hidden, and that gets hidden. So now we don't see that overflow. So that's what we want. So last one, let's just apply some to this one. Going to come down to motion effects, scrolling effects, horizontal scroll. We're going to go to the left. We're going to go a little bit faster, maybe a 4 point, something like that. That is looking good. I'm happy with that. Now, same as we did before, you know, you want to apply that same blur to these, each one line by line. We're going to add a scrolling, a vertical scroll. Going to go, not vertical scroll on this one. This one is a scrolling effect, yes, but we want to add a blur, fade in and out. Going to go with a 10 and a 90, let's see. We've still got a vertical scroll on there. So we can see that that blur is just about coming in, not very strong. So I'm going to increase that from the bottom to maybe 15. Looks good. And then up the top, again, maybe increase that a little bit to like 87. It's good. Now again, apply that to this one, 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 and to this one. You need to go away and apply that same blur to this one and to this one, and you need to apply that same blur to this and to this. Once you have done that, you will have a really nicely looking scrolling website. There is motion in there as we're scrolling around, things appear, things move around, things come to life, and it just generally looks like a really nice website. So that is exactly what we are after. So with that done, we can now hit that publish, have a look, see how that is on the front end, and then we can start tweaking these different screen sizes. So we want to first of all make this look absolutely popping on a tablet, and then followed by a mobile. So first, let's start looking at this tablet size. So I'm not going to mess around too much with this because you guys should already know how to build responsive designs. It's just if there's anything majorly wrong, we're just going to tweak that right now. But you guys, of course, will want to go away and make this looking absolutely perfect. So let's just take a quick look here. I can see maybe these are I think they're a global. So a heading 4 might just make that a little bit smaller as a global. So let's just come along to our site settings there. Going to come to our global fonts. We're going to set that H4 on tablet a little bit smaller. So let's go with, it was 24 before, I think a 20 should be fine. And let's go ahead and save those changes. Now if we come back, we can take a look. Now, if there's anything else that I'm going to have to change through the globals, I'm just going to change it on the front, on the back end where I am on the page builder. Just know that you guys will want to get that changed from the globals, right? That is the obvious step to do to make things more productive when you not want to make any future changes. So why has that one changed, heading 4, but that one hasn't? Oh, because it's not a H4. Always helps, like so. So that is looking good. I'm happy with that so far. Let's come down, 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 down. We've got our selected works. We've got our boards. Those are looking absolutely fine. Let's have a chat. That is looking good as well. Maybe you'll add a little bit of padding around that left-hand side. Let's come to that parent container. Under advanced, Let's just add in. So it's removed all of the padding at the top and bottom, at the left and right as well. That's fine. We can fix that afterwards. Let's go with 20. Going to uncheck that. Not on the top. Let's add it on the, not on the right. Let's add it on the top. Going to go with something like maybe 70 or 80. That's okay. And 80 there. So that is looking good. In fact, we might even make that 100. Why not? 100, 100. So for a mobile, for a tablet, sorry, this is looking absolutely fine. Again, I really like this big font. It really stands out. And although it is a big wall of text, it somehow still draws your eye to it. It makes you want to read it because it is so big. So let's go ahead and select publish. Going to come to our mobile now. So let's tweak the design for mobile, come all the way to the top. And maybe make this a little bit smaller. I believe this was a H2 or a H1. No, it wasn't. Okay, so I'm just going to change that here. If you've got this saved as a global, then you guys will want to go away and edit this from your global site settings, of course. But I think for a 60, that is looking good. That's fine. These are fine. I like that. I'm going to remove this padding on the left that we had. So let's come along and just make that 10. Like so. In fact, let's go ahead and make that 20. I think that looks better. That is looking fine. Maybe add a little bit of padding additional to the top. Maybe something like that. Come down. That's looking good. Selected works. Do we want to center that? No, I'm going to keep everything to the left. But again, I think this is okay. Maybe we need to add some padding between the two elements here because the tiles are now crossing. Because of course they have that motion effect. So that makes sense. Come to this tile. In fact, we want the parent, but I can't seem to click it. Okay, so I'm going to have to do it from here. So the parent is this one. That's got both of those elements. Has it got both? Yeah, it has got both of those elements in. We're going to add in some row gap there. Something like 60, let's see. Even more even. Let's go with 100. Now, of course, you could have just used padding. It depends, whatever you want to use. I'm going to go with 150 just to ensure that there is no crossing. And 150 is looking good. I'm going to remove that column gap, even though there is no columns. Let's just remove that 150. Uncheck that. I'm going to make that column gap the standard 20. So that is fine. That's looking good. Let's do the same with the one below. That's going to be this one. Let's just do exactly the same now. Let's go 150, uncheck, going to make that column 20. Like so. Probably want to remove some of the gap between them in the parent container as well. So that is this one. We can see as we scroll down, we've got these two that are close, and then there's a big bit of gap, and then there's the additional two. So I think that is actually coming from the two parents of the tiles, right? So let's take a look under advanced. There we go. So I'm going to just make this maybe a, let's see what it looks like with an 80 top and 80 bottom. We scroll down. That's looking a bit better. Let's do that second one. So that's going to be this container that houses both tiles. Under the advanced, let's make that 80. No. Make that 0. Uncheck. And then bottom 80, top 80. I think even that's a little bit too much at the top, so I'm going to remove that 80. I mean, it's almost there. I'm going to just remove the 80 bottom from the parent above it. And that is looking a lot better. So I like that. Let's come down now and do any final checks. Let's have a chat. I like that. Big and bold. Images moving between left and right, which I like. And for the most part, that is looking really good. So I'm really happy with how that looks. So basically, once you are happy, we can go ahead and select publish. And after that, there is just one more thing really that I want to add in, and that is going to be the snippet that's going to create that moving trailing cursor. So as we scroll around the web page, we get a little cursor that follows it around, which again, I just think adds that animation and that little bit of something special that you don't see on every website. which, you know, is the exact type of thing that might end up landing you a new client just because they can see you can do stuff like that. So I'm going to hit publish there. And what we want to do now is hop back over to the Google Drive. And what we are looking for is this trailing cursor. So this is the code for the trailing cursor. And just like what we did before, I'm going to triple click this box and Command and C to copy the text. And this is going into the CSS this time. So if you haven't got a CSS window open, go ahead and do that now. What I'm going to do is come to the bottom, space, space, space to give it some space between, paste that in. And we've got the trailing cursor just there. I'm going to just come along and copy this just because I'm a bit of a fanatic with keeping my code clean. I'm going to copy this space in here and I'm going to paste that in there. So that it looks like that. So this is all of our trailing cursor CSS. So basically, the reason I keep all of this looking neat and tidy is because if I ever need to come along, I can see what code is responsible for what. And that is exactly what I like. It makes things so much easier, especially if you've got multiple people working on a website. So I'm going to select publish. Let's come back and grab the JavaScript that we need, which is this one, which we will add in as well. So I'm going to select all of that and then Command and C. Let's hop back over to our site. We want to come over to our edit code. If you haven't got a window open, I'm just going to update that. If you haven't got one open, head over to your Elementor custom code, but we're just going to add a new one here. So this is going to be the trailing cursor, like so. We're going to inject this at the bottom of the body, like so, and I'm going to paste the code in just like so. So again, there's just a few references on here, which is basically going to change the styling of the cursor when there's certain classes added, when there's certain classes removed, stuff like that. Again, you've not got to understand it exactly. We're going to select that publish, entire site, save and close. So just one more thing left to do now, and that is to just let the JavaScript know, this piece of code, know when the cursor moves over that dark section. So we can see that there's a class here that we can copy. So this is just going to be a dark section. So basically what's going to happen is as we move over the white, we're going to have a black dot following it around. But when we move over the black, we want that to flip to white. So to let that code know that it's over a dark section, let's just give this dark section a CSS class of dark section. So again, this is the works section that we're going to be working with here, and just give that class, hit that publish, come up to our website, hit refresh, fingers crossed. So we have our cursor, that's good. It inverts when it hovers, which is just what we wanted. As we come down, it switches to white because we've just added that CSS class. So that is now working exactly as we want. So just a couple more things left to do now, and that is to add in our anchors for our menu and maybe make our header sticky so that it always stays at the top. So let's just fix that now. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to come along to our header. Now, if you have your header open, then that's great. But if not, come along to your theme builder. We are opening up your header. We want to edit this and we just want to make it sticky and give it a white background. So we'll do that together now quick. Let's come along to the parent. We're going to come to style. We're going to give this a background color of white. And then we're going to come to advanced, down to motion effects, and then sticky top, just like so. Let's hit publish. So now if we come to the front end and refresh, we should have a sticky header, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. And then next up, all we have to do is add in those anchor points. Now, if you remember, we added a hashtag to these links as custom links. So it was a hashtag about, hashtag work, hashtag contact. We're going to need to use those IDs to configure the anchor points. So let's come along to add widget here. We're going to look for an anchor menu. That's fine. Now, looking here, what I should really do is create a whole full width container within this about section, but I'm not going to do that now. So I'm literally just going to add in a new section, hit plus, flexbox, and then any direction is fine. I'm going to come to anchor, like so. And then I'm going to give this a, what is this one? This is about. So we just need to put in about. So remember, it says here without the hashtag. So we don't need to use the hashtag. So that is that one done. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add in a new section here. And this is going to be the anchor point for works. Let's come to plus. Let's come to anchor. Like so. This is going to be work. And then down the bottom, final one, hit the plus, flexbox down. We are going to drop in another final anchor, like so. This time this is going to be contact. Now, of course, if you gave your menu some different IDs, then you need to make sure that they correspond to what you are typing into this anchor. So we hit publish, and then fingers crossed, come to the front end, hit that refresh. We've got our sticky menu. If we come to about, it takes us to about. Work takes us to work. Contact takes us to contact. So that is now looking really, really good. So I think what we are now having to, well, now that we have our website, it really is just a case of going out there into the real world and getting people to pay for our services. Now, of course, your job is not finished right now. You do still need to complete some portfolios, because at the minute we are using these dummy websites, which is fine for now. You don't have to have these websites live on the internet, because if you remember, as we click these, it opens this up and we don't have a link to the project. So it's not saying, we're not saying that it's live, but we're just saying that this is a website that we have built. And honestly, at this point, the one piece of advice that I can say is just be brutally honest and transparent. If you have built a website and you built it purely for your own leisure, for your own learning experience, add that to your portfolio, but just be descriptive about why you've done it under these points here. So if you've got pictures of your website, you've got a description about why you've done it, what you built it for, etc., and you are brutally honest about it, honestly, you will get so much more respect for your transparency and honesty from potential clients when you are approaching them for the first time. Because of course, when you are approaching them, you're saying, look, I'm going to build you a website for $100. Or look, I have built you a website. Do you want to buy it for $100? Or look, I'm going to build you a website completely for free. I just want to get free things from you. I want to get a testimonial. I want to get your feedback, and I want you to recommend me to your friends and families. If that is going to be your strategies, which we're going to go through in the next video of this mini series anyway, then they are going to, if they come to your website and see it, then they're going to expect you to be a novice. They're not expecting the world. You're doing them a service for free or for minimal costs. So they do not expect to see a portfolio filled up. So do not beat yourself up. The one thing that you do want is to get minimum 2 portfolios on here. These could be websites that you've built maybe from one of my other courses, inside of my WordPress Entrepreneur. If you want to build one of those websites and then use that as a portfolio, then that would be really good. If you have built websites for anyone else, then of course add that as a portfolio. But your task now is to go away and complete at least 2 portfolios. And then in the next part of this mini series, I'm going to be diving into the exact strategies that you can do and adopt at the early stages of your career that has worked wonders for my existing students, for previous students, and for myself. So these are the exact strategies that I teach in my business accelerator. These are working for real people month in, month out right now. And I've given you all of this information completely for free. And that is all going to come up in part 2 of this mini series. And I can't wait to see you over there.